Hey everyone, it's Candice. It is August 2023, and let's get into it and talk about your recap for the Toronto real estate market. First thing I want to say is anybody had made any predictions in terms of what was going to happen with interest rates and if they were going to go up or down and how that was going to affect the market. I think a lot of people might have bet wrong, right? People were always saying, oh, they can't raise interest rates anymore. It can't get any higher. Well, they have. We're now in the 5 to 6%. And then other people say, oh, well, you know what? That definitely means that people can't buy houses. People aren't going to be able to buy things. Well, guess what? People are still buying things, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about why that's happening. But before that, I want to get into the numbers, what we saw in July 2023 as a recap. So if we're looking at the numbers in comparison to just last month, okay, we're going to compare June 2023 to July 2023, okay, we are seeing listings, okay, listings are now going down. All right, we're also looking at the average selling price. That's down a little bit, even from June and May. And if we are looking at the sales, dramatically down. Okay, if we take a look at that. Now, this again is in comparison to just the last couple months. If we look at it compared to this time last year, all right, you're going to tell a little bit of a different story in terms of the sales. Yeah, it's still down, but it's obviously up a little bit from what was put on the market. When I refer to sales, I'm saying what's been put on the market, okay? And what's actually been selling, not expired or terminated, okay? And then if we look at the listings, up a little bit from where we were this time last year. And if we're looking at the average sale price, we're going up, okay? So that's something to keep in mind for that, all right? Now, if we're gonna get back into it, what's going on in terms of the different segments, seller, buyer, investor, and how does this affect you? So sellers, I'm gonna be very honest. Here's what I'm telling my sellers. Anyone that's coming to me saying, Candice, I kind of wanna sell my home. What do you think about the market? If you're asking me today in this market, first question I'm going to ask you is why? Why do you want to sell your home? Where are we going? That's going to help actually make the proper decision on if it's the right market for you. If you don't have to sell your home right now and you don't have any place you really want to go, you don't see anything else on the market that you like, I'm going to be honest, a lot of sellers aren't selling. They're tire kicking, as I like to call it, meaning that they're putting property on the market, they're seeing what offer they get, but if they don't like the number, they don't have to agree to it. Okay, that's the first thing that's happening. And secondly, sellers are now looking at it and saying things like, with this crazy rental market that's happening, maybe I'll rent out my property and sell it later and I'll move to something else as either a rental. Sometimes they can hold on to both properties. Really is dependent on the situation that you're in. But in terms of if you are selling in this market, if you don't have to, sellers aren't. So how does that have an impact on things? Well, obviously, puts listings a little bit lower because if people aren't listing their property, people can't buy the property, right? The other thing it's doing is driving up some of the inventory of what is out there, even if it's not what people really want, right? It is what it is. People who are selling now have to sell. And that's kind of making things a little bit different and difficult, especially for buyers. Obviously, buyers with the interest rate hike, it's killing them, right? It's really making things truly, truly difficult to be able to actually, pass a stress test for a mortgage and actually get approval and a mortgage price or an amount that you could buy. And then number two, making payments, right? We've heard this now with things going up and people being on variable rates. Some mortgages and the mortgage of people is jumping significantly higher than they had expected to pay for it. And it is forcing some people, not everyone, to put their property on the market. Now, I want to be very careful with stating this because I think, things that go out on the news, we have to be cautious because when you're just looking at the numbers and you don't have a story around it or really the information around it, makes it really easy to just kind of mix numbers a different way and just tell the story that those numbers tell. So for example, I had a client recently call me. It's a buyer client. They want to buy something, but they're really looking at the numbers. And, one thing they said is, oh, Candice, I heard that prices are going down. I'm saving up for this down payment. And when prices really hit rock bottom, I'll be in there, right? I don't think we're going to see that crash. Again, nobody has a crystal ball, so I could be wrong, but I'm not sure if we're actually going to see this crash that everyone's kind of hoping might happen. And there's a few reasons why that is happening. So the first thing I want to say is People that buy can buy, do buy, okay? And the big reason why you're seeing this happening and why some of the interest rates are not affecting things is people who are buying are coming in with higher down payments. So for example, they are people that, parents have helped them out and they're giving them a big down payment. I see families and family members coming together to buy a home, which makes for a bigger down payment. Some people are selling something to buy something, so they might not even need a mortgage, right? And if you're in that situation, sometimes buying a property right now makes sense because properties are listed and pricing for a little bit lower than you might get in a different market. Now, everybody is waiting for interest rates to go down. Question number one I get from people is, Candice, when are the interest rates going to go down? Do you think they're going to go down? I think eventually they are going to go down. We are getting different people saying different things. I've heard numbers like, interest rates will start going down in 2024. I'm also now hearing they might go down in 2025. What you just have to remember is how things work. So for example, think of it logically. If buyers are holding back and waiting for interest rates to go down, and then they do start going down, that's going to bring buyers to the market, which will also bring sellers to the market, which means properties will start going on market, but you're going to have more people competing for those properties, right? And that can drive prices up again. So the way I'm cautioning my buyers or explaining to my buyers, again, while we want to keep the market in mind, I think it's very dangerous to make a decision just based off of the numbers. We have to look at why we're buying, what we're planning on doing with it, and how long we're planning on being there. And that can help determine a better situation and decision-making process for what it is that you're looking for. However, if you are in the market to buy right now, it might, and I say might because I don't know you have to be, somebody that really looks at your situation to see if it is, but it might be an interesting time to buy. Here's the people that I'm working with that are buyers. Life changes, people having babies, growing family, they need space, right? And they're looking at it saying, you know what, I need space, eventually I'm going to have to buy the home sooner or later. And if prices are a little bit better now and I can afford the mortgage, right? Because they might be in a situation where they're able to carry that mortgage, then yeah, this could be a good time to buy. Downsizers, right? Some of my people are saying, you know what, I'm going to let go of this big, huge house and I'm going to buy something in a different province, a different country, going to kind of downsize a bit. That's going to be a little bit better, right? Other individuals that are looking to buy condos. Condos are actually coming down in pricing more than we've seen in a very long time. So if you are in the market for a condo, this can be a really good time to buy because you can get a little bit of, I call it price relief. We're not getting deals. This isn't a deal market. And the reason this isn't a deal market is, as we've discussed, people are paying higher down payments and we have too many outside factors affecting this. Immigration. The government has brought in X amount of people just this year alone, trying to hit their quota cap of how many immigrants they're bringing in. They're bringing in people that have skills, they have access to money, ability to make money, so they don't rent for very long, right? And then they buy something, and that's putting so much pressure on the housing market because, I don't know how much has been thought towards, hey, we're bringing in all these people, where are they going to live? And that's the sort of political gripe, or that's what we're hearing out there, okay? So you got to consider that. The next thing that's happening, rents are sky high. It's an absolutely insane rental market right now, especially if you're renting in Toronto or the GTA. But even outside of Toronto and GTA, moving into Durham, rents are still really, really high because these are places that people want to be. They come in and either they want access to public transportation downtown or they have a job in that sense. A lot of people are now coming back to work. The work from home is not as often, so we have to think about this. So what's happening in the rental market right now? Well, if you have a house, and I will tell you this because this has happened specifically to me. I have seller clients I've talked with and, they're not sure if they want to sell their house because they don't like the prices, but they don't want to be in there right now. So they are willing and wanting to rent it out, and they can get for their house, which is a detached home, 3-bed, 3-bath, we're actually looking to get above $5,000 for that home. We're seeing multiple offers on property. So a property might get on the market for one day. This is leases, and they might already have 7 or 8 plus offers. We're seeing people offering above the lease price, and they're even volunteering upfront rent. Okay, a landlord cannot force you to pay any additional rent. but they are offering it, okay? And that's making things not an even playing ground for everybody. It's not fair, I will tell you this, but it's where we are right now, okay? So that's something to consider. So if you are an investor, you might be looking at this saying, is this a good time to buy a property? Well, again, it could be. I'd have to talk to you to really figure out your situation to make sure it makes sense, because it doesn't always make sense for everybody depending on the kind of investor you are. A lot of, mom and pop investors are sometimes coming into trouble here because they have multiple properties. And when I talk mom and pop, I talk people like you or me that maybe have a few properties, but they don't have this huge, big corporate portfolio. But some of them are getting into trouble because they have to renew their mortgage at this much higher rate, and it's forcing them to not be able to hold on to everything, right? So you want to kind of be careful that way. The other thing you have to consider, tenants. Tenant and the tenant board right now, the Ontario Landlord Tenant Board, it's insane. The tenants have all the power right now. So essentially, when you are accepting a tenant into your rental property, I recently heard this from somebody, I love this expression, you're kind of assigning in a weird way a prenub with them, in the sense of we're seeing a lot more individuals on the landlord side qualify tenants at a higher rate. They really want to get to know them. They ask additional questions. They want video interviews. They really call references, make sure nothing's fraudulent in terms of documentation because they've seen that. They really want to make sure it's the right tenant to enter into this marriage with, because essentially once that tenant is inside your property, it is ludicrously hard to get them out. And I am seeing this so many times with clients, even with clients that want to sell their property and they're having a hard time selling because there's a tenant in there, and technically you can serve the tenant notice and ask them to leave. But I'm hearing this from a lot of landlords. The tenant just stays, doesn't pay rent, and you can't legally just change the locks and kick them out. There's a process. And again, the Tenant-landlord board is backed up now 12 to 18 months. So it's making it difficult for everybody, okay? So if you are looking at the real estate market right now, you're trying to figure out, what you should be doing. Here's the thing. There's 50 ways to slice it. And I think the first thing you need to do is have a consultation with a qualified real estate agent who's not just going to talk about, hey, is it buying or selling or investing? What do you want to do right now? But really listen to your situation to help you make a solution. So for example, I talk with a lot of clients that they want to purchase, they want to have an investment property. They don't want to buy in Ontario or Toronto. They can't, right? But they're open to buying in places like Montreal. They're open to buying in places like Calgary. They're open to buying in places like Halifax, and that's something that I can do. And I work with them to find those right deals to make that investment where everything is taken care of, end-to-end solution, finding the tenants, cash flow statements, fixing anything that needs fixing in the property. It's all done for them, right? So sometimes that's a solution. Figuring out what it is that you really want versus what you need. We would all like to get the place that is highly pristine with everything updated, but do we need that right now, or can we get the good enough property and update down the line in a little while, looking at the timelines for construction and when things are kind of coming in that way. Pre-builds, it's a whole different animal. I'm a little nervous about pre-builds right now, to be honest with you, because you don't know what's going to happen in X amount of years. Back pre-COVID, pre-builds were a sure bet. You bought a pre-build, it would definitely increase in value. You could assign it or sell it and make a little bit of money, right? It's not like that today. So you want to be very careful with that. So where does that leave you? Well, I recently had a client that said something very interesting to me. He goes, Candice, don't talk to me about what's in the news. Don't talk to me about the numbers or anything. Tell me what I don't know. Tell me what I'm not seeing out there that somebody who has realtor experience with boots on the ground is seeing. And I thought that was a really good kind of question. And here's what I can tell you that you might not be seeing out there in the news, okay? And this is from my experience being a full-time realtor, as well as I'm part of several different groups and associations where I get to talk with probably about a good 50 to 100 different realtors every single week who are working in all different markets and all different areas of Ontario and beyond, to really kind of give you that overview of what's happening. Buyers are pulling back, right? First-time home buyers, the first-time home buyer, it's almost non-existent because it is so hard to qualify and pass that stress test. Individuals buying on their own, even further, right? It's normally two people coming together, buying something, and they have a significant down payment that has either come from selling property, the parents, some other way, right? That's making it a little easier for them, right? So that's putting a stress on things. Sellers, they're holding back, right? Sellers would rather almost rent out the property with the crazy amazing rental market that we're having right now if you're a seller, or if you have a property to rent, as opposed to selling anything right now. And investors are cautiously investing. It's not the same type of investment that we were doing before. They're really looking at numbers, they're looking at cash flow, and they're really cautiously looking at the prediction of where rates can go and if they can hold on to the property and not have it be a hindrance, right? So that's really what we're seeing out there. So again, where does that leave you? Well, I think, again, we have to watch and see what's happening. We're supposed to get another interest rate hike in September, or at least an interest rate announcement. We're not sure if it's going to be a hike or not, but some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. I personally think, you have to make a decision with the information you have right now. I like to say always, it's not about timing the market, it's time in market, because again, if you're trying to time the market, we see how quick things change. So if you are waiting for that bottoming out, and all of a sudden it bounces back too quickly for you and you don't get in on that bounce, how's that going to have an effect, right? So these are just things for you to consider. So I would suggest the first thing that you want to do, have a consultation with a realtor. And I say consultation. Talk to a realtor that is not going to sell you anything. My clients who I work with, sometimes they work with me in terms of starting. The conversation will start with, Candice, I'm not buying or selling. And I say, that's great. I don't want to buy or sell anything with you anyways because I don't know you yet. Let's talk. Right? And sometimes we talk, they don't buy immediately. We sometimes wait 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before they're actually in a position comfortable and ready to buy. That doesn't mean they don't get to talk to me. They can email me, call me, we have conversations, we have check-in. I love talking with people about this stuff, right? So it's giving that information, being that knowledge base. That's the first thing. So find a realtor that you can actually just have a consultation with, that you're not going to feel pressured by, just someone you can talk with. The next thing you're going to want to do, talk with a mortgage broker or your bank. Talk with a few. Conversation is great, even if you're not sure if you're in the position to be able to do anything. I was going in for a showing and I was talking with the concierge of a condo, and I was just waiting for my client to show up, and she says, listen, tell me, what do you think's going on with the market? So we just, kind of chatted, and she said, here's the thing. I'm paying really high rent. Can you tell me if it's the right time to buy right now? I said, I can't tell you that because I don't know anything about your situations or your numbers, but here's what I do know. You need to know those numbers. Talk with a mortgage broker or bank, get that number. Does it make sense for you to buy something right now and hold on to it as opposed to pay the high rent that you're paying? The answer is going to be different. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, and it really depends on your personal situation, right? The other thing, that I want to say is in terms of investing and stuff like that also, you got to look at the numbers. So that's where a really great mortgage broker or a bank comes in, because they help you look at that. They look at the cash flow. They look at the cap rate. They help you figure out, is this the right time to do this? And lastly, real estate lawyer. A lot of people leave out the real estate lawyer till the very, very end. Sometimes people will even make an offer without even talking to a real estate lawyer. And I think that's a little bit dangerous. It's definitely, negligent. And the reason that is, there's lots of things real estate lawyers can help you out with. Just not only learning about the information about how things work, whether you've already done a real estate deal or this is your 5th deal, but things are always changing, right? So they can kind of talk to you about that and the costing of things and how that's going to have an effect. I heard a story recently from a friend, a colleague of mine, where they had somebody purchase something and that person didn't talk with a real estate lawyer before they had bought something. They were very surprised by the bill, okay? Just in terms of the taxes and everything. So these are things you always want to get a handle on, and a good realtor will help walk you through the process, right? It's a realtor's job to make this easy for you. You can go online and find your property right now. All the information is out there. You can find, what's comparable around the area. That's not anything new. And thank gosh it's out there, because that should not be the value of a realtor. The value of your realtor is to make your life easier, make sure that they are taking care of your best interests, pointing out any blind spots, anything that's going to affect the deal, anything that's going to affect you now or in future that might have a cachet or have a hit to your pocketbook, right? And just make sure that they have a really good referral network. So they should be somebody that you can contact for anything that you need. all your realtor needs, and sometimes outside of real estate, to just be able to give you things. Like, for example, do you need a handyman? Do you need somebody to talk about investment taxes within the taxation laws around purchasing an investment property? Is something wrong, with the plumbing, and you got to figure out, is it now something I should be replacing or should I be holding off? All these things are people that, you're going to want to have contact with, and good realtors will have these people in their network that are vetted and really useful for you to talk to. Okay? So that's what we're seeing out there. That's what we're seeing from July, the very beginning of August, and now we have to wait and see. It's still summer months, so people are still being a little lackadaisical in terms of vacations. If people were trying to get in for the school year, they pretty much already have bought now. Traditionally, in the winter months, we start seeing listings go down and sales go down because people turn their attention elsewhere. October is actually kind of interesting. We sort of see people October, November sometimes making moves because they do want to get in before the end of the year coming into the new year. Okay, and that's before the holidays and everything starts. So that's where we're at. If you have any questions about this, if there's anything you want to talk about, I love talking with people. Book a consultation call with me, just a chat, no pressure, no nothing. I'm not going to sell you anything, just so you can kind of get some more information on what's happening out there. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like the content and you want to subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate that. Otherwise, I hope everyone is taking care of themselves and each other. Bye.